Welcome back to the Quinexus podcast. I'm Chuck.
I'm Jack.
Today we're going to talk about open source versus commercial software. So Jack, what does open source mean in 2021?
Open source software from 10 years ago is pretty much the same as what it means today. What open source software is software that is available under some type of licensing agreement where users can go download the software and configure the software. The nice thing about open source software, and it is plentiful, and there's lots of good stuff out there, is it is free, or at least there's no cost to download it, and there's no cost to implement it, and stay within whatever the license agreements are, which is pretty much you can't resell it.
Sure.
And that's what makes it open source. So you can download it, you can use it, configure it, and chances are it works great. But if you have a problem with configuring it, the only way to get support is through the community itself. And there may be a few vendors out there, but they're pretty much few and far between, that will actually make a practice out of supporting an open source platform, depending on, again, the size of your company and the industry you're in and what vendors are out there. That may be a challenge. And for a small business, open source, while there's no cost, may be an attractive solution. If you go that route and you have somebody that's talented and can configure the open source solution for you and get it up and running, as long as you have that resource available to continue to support it, you're in good shape. If that resource leaves your organization, you now have to find somebody with a pretty unique small skill set, which may or may not, chances are more, may not be easy to find and get that skill set to get that solution.
What's an example of an open source software that a business would use today?
A good example, firewalls. There are some open source firewalls out there. You go to the download site, you download the firewall. You may or may not have to compile it, and then you run it on a piece of hardware. You put your network cards in, and you have a firewall. That firewall may or may not have some of the advanced features, but again, the whole key here is whoever you have working for you that's responsible for implementing that firewall, oftentimes there's some unique things that need to be determined before as it's being implemented. And as long as you have that resource within your organization to take care of the care and feeding of that open source platform, chances are you'll be fine. The challenge comes when that resource goes away, or the challenge may come when you find a bug and then trying to get help to solve that bug, versus buying an off-the-shelf commercial firewall. We're a Fortinet partner. They make the FortiGate firewall, but there's also Palo Alto, Cisco, other big names. And if you buy one of their firewalls, and as bugs get found, there's a corporation, a company standing behind that firewall that is working on resolving those issues.
But can't you also have problems with commercial software?
Absolutely. And this is where vendor due diligence plays a big part in your selection of the proper piece of off-the-shelf software you want to implement. You can look at a company like Fortinet that makes the FortiGate firewall. They're a tier 1 company. They've been around for a long time. They're going to be around for a long time. There are many startup companies. There are many companies that are VC funded, and those are kind of a little more scary. While they might have great products, typically VC funded companies, the investors look for a 3 to 4 year exit strategy to take the company public or sell the company off. So while they might be a great product at the time, they're more volatile. And if they don't make certain numbers, they're going to get sold off, or they may just shut them down and the VCs may just walk away. When we talk about vendor risk management, it's very important to understand the companies you want to partner with. And if cost is a factor, you can go with a lower cost solution. You just have to realize that if there's less transparency into the financial health of that company, and they may not be there, while a better financial option today might not be, but based on your needs, that may be a good solution. You just have to understand what the risks are and then make an informed decision.
So to sum up, it sounds like there are really no wrong decisions between open source and commercial software. A business needs to understand their need for that particular software and weigh the risks between open source and commercial. While open source is free to download, it has other costs associated with it. So once you go through that cost-benefit analysis, you can make an informed decision on what you need for that software solution. As always, thanks for joining us on the podcast. We've been getting some great feedback on the podcast. If you have a topic that you are interested in us covering, please reach out or comment on the video. Like, comment, and subscribe wherever you are, and we'll see you next time.